Good morning. Very good to see you. Hope everybody's well. Looking forward to getting us stuck into this future sessions today. Yes, it's quiet on the news front, but it still could be active on the futures front, so definitely worth looking at. Without further ado, let's get stuck into the session. So, looking at the fundamentals today, the sentiment is positive. And the reason for the sentiment being positive is because there's trade talks that are now currently underway between the US and China going on in London. That's lifting sentiment and giving a general strong upside to sentiment. And if you just take a look at US equity futures markets, you can see US equity futures are up, finding dip buying across the board. We've got this sort of overhead resistance that we're trying to come into, and you can see volatility is pushing lower. So sentiment's looking positive. We will be headline driven today, and most likely it's going to go down to whether there is some kind of deal set up between the US and China regarding rare earth materials. That is something that Donald Trump has already said that the deal is somewhere along. Remember, Donald Trump is now undergoing some kind of immigration issue in the US, and the Trump-Musk fallout has just got faded into the background, and it's all about what's going on domestically in the US and the potential of US troops being called to disperse protesters in America. That's sort of getting headlines, but at the moment, the market's not taking that too seriously. It's seen more as a political move than a real threat to US security, and that's the way the market's perceiving it at the moment. In terms of the calendar, very light. The main focus of this week is going to be the 20-year bond auction that's taking place on Thursday. We saw a poor auction in the 20-year bond yield on May the 21st that sent yields surging higher. Markets will be watching for that. It's a 30-year bond auction that's taking place on Thursday, and it's $22 billion. Don't forget, Moody's downgraded its rating on US debt in the middle of last month. So the longer end of the yield curve is a particular focus, because they're seen as political risk. It's not seen as a monetary policy risk, it's seen as political risk that the US is going to pursue a tariff policy that's going to discourage US investors and is going to see an outflow of US assets. That's what that big surge in yields is all about at the longer end of the curve. That's going to be for another day, but just be aware that sort of mood is out there. So looking at the rhythm of the session, we've been trending higher up towards this value area from the end of last week. You can see we've got this developed value area high up here from last week, and it's a developing value area high from this week. And we've got the point of control for this week right up there. And you can see sellers are trying to build up at this top, and you've got some sellers here, right? And all here. So if we see those sellers trapped, then we can breakout, pullback, and away we go. But at the moment, just be careful, because we're going into this resistance level. So we've got to be careful of that. And similarly on the 15-minute chart, you just see, look, we're moving up into that resistance level, that developed value area from Friday, and that's just capping prices for now. So the first kind of indication that we're going to see this breaking out is if we start to see some sellers getting trapped up here, and price being able to break up and through. It's tricky though, because this could provide some more resistance. Obviously, this would be a great area for shorts to come back in. So we're looking for a breakout on volume, yeah, or a false break and then a return back into this level. The delta for the session is negative from the Globex Open, right? So it's tracking lower, and you can see there's been a build up of negative delta up at this level as well. Right, from about midday UK time for the last couple of hours, delta's been building. Now, obviously, pushing out above this on good news could be very positive for sentiment. So we'll keep an eye on that, right, carefully. Looking at it on the 5-minute chart, we'll really be looking for a strong push above these levels. I mean, what's quite interesting here is you have got some buyers trapping some sellers there. The problem is, you see, that's great, but this is a potential sell area. So you can see 15-minute, you've got these sellers who have come in since 12 o'clock. On the 5-minute, you've got some buyers are coming and trap those sellers, but the delta is pushing lower and the delta is negative. So we wouldn't wanting to be going into this for a breakout because it's not that reliable given the fact that delta is sort of moving lower, and you can see delta is actually continuing to move lower. And if we look at it on the tick chart, let's have a look how on balance what volume is doing. On balance volume is, let's have a look. You can see you can see the divergence there. Look, you see the on balance volume is making lower highs, even as the price is making higher highs. So you've got divergence there between the delta and the on balance volume. So this tells you it's weak, right? There's no conviction that that's going to carry on. Now, of course, if we break above these highs and we get those sellers trapped, then it can just sort of push through all that. But if and when it does, it'll do it on rising volume. Whereas as things currently stand, balance volume is weak, and you see divergence there. Price moving up, on balance weak uptrend. So we're in a weak uptrend into a resistance level. So what's my projections? Well, where would I like to buy this from? I'd very much like to buy this from down 6,007, down lower, or a clean break, retest, and on we go. Let's have a little look at the TPO. Just look at it on the price. Sometimes I like to get just a clear price view. Trying to gap above those highs from Friday. We're in that value area high that's developing from today. So this is a nice buy area down here. Break down through that, then we can look for further selling. So that would equate to pulling back to these highs here, or to these highs from the middle of last week, good area for longs, or these lows from Friday, good area for longs, or breaking up above and then looking for longs. Staying lower, then we could potentially look for a break of this area here for a run down to 5996. So we've got the nice thing about today, let's have a look at that 4-hour wedge. So I'll check this out. I did see that. It is the only thing that there's a couple of things I don't quite like about it. Quite near the apex, Najam. The apex is the point where these two lines meet, and generally speaking, when you get price moving towards the apex, the pattern becomes less reliable. And if you just draw the trend line across that swing point there, you could say it's a potential false break underway. Let's have a look at this if I can be more helpful with it. But what would be nice, Najam, obviously a break, say we get a breakout of this level on volume higher, then you can't deny it. You've got to go with it, I think. Nice spot, Najam. Very, very relevant. In fact, I was looking at a potential trend line from across the top there, like this. I didn't put it on, but I think the wedge is a better way of understanding that. So, all right, folks. So now we've come down to this value area, developed value area from Friday on the 1-minute candle. We've got the daily VWAP there as well. Delta is now negative on the session and from the Globex open. So we're sort of continuing that move lower. We just sort of saw that sellers building up there, but can it rally from here? Let's have a look. This is one of the areas that I will be looking for buyers from. Let's see. So 1 minute. Sellers continuing to come in, and you can see here that, look, you got those buyers trapped there. Let's see if they get trapped. I might try a little short there, see if I can get a little bit further downside on that. No, I'm out of that. Just taking a little bit long. Let's see if we can get a point of control is now down there. This would be an area to look for potential buyers. So look on the 5. That's just buyers are trying to come in there. Let's have a look. Pushing lower, trying to take out those buyers there. That'd be an important area. Sellers trying to come back in again. Okay, really they're trying to go for that next level down. Standard deviation holding. Get underneath there, I will join shorts again. Buyers trying to come in at that area. Let's see here, the 1 minute. So sellers trap those buyers. Standard deviation holding for now. A 1 minute. Point of control sat down there at the 6,001. The 6,000 holding for now. Buyers coming in and trapping some of these sellers down here. Let's see what else we get. So no sellers trapped yet. And you got buy sellers trapping those buyers. Do we see some sellers getting trapped there again? Let's have a look. Some buyers getting trapped there again. That would be very interesting. That would be interesting for shorts if we see sellers get trapped here. Buyers getting trapped there rather. Delta trying to push forward, but at the moment sellers are not trapped. But if they do get trapped, that would be a nice potential launch point. Right, if we go underneath here, yeah, I'm going to go with that for the sell. I like that. You've got buyers trapped up there. So let's see if we can get some sellers come in here. Delta is negative. Those buyers were trapped here. So let's see. Delta is still negative. So I still favor selling here, even though you've got a little bit of buyers trapping some of those areas down there. What's tricky is if you look on the 1 minute, you've got these buyers got trapped here by those sellers and they remain trapped the whole time. So those buyers have been trapped all the while. So I do still favor shorts. Delta dropping. Let's try to push higher. Another test of this area here. Coming up to a close. If I get a close above those sellers, then I will be going long. Not quite. Those sellers are still okay there. Okay, I'm out of that. Okay, buyers trapping sellers. It's trying to move the other way now. Delta has now turned positive. So feeling more confident about buying from here. Let's have a look. Definitely got buyers trapping these sellers now. Those sellers trapping those buyers. Head back to that point of control. So a nice buy area there.
Market update following the US cash open. Starting with US indices, they do start the week back in direction. SPX currently unchanged. Dow Jones down 0.2%. Nasdaq 100 unchanged. And Russell 2000 outperforming, up about 0.4%. Today's focus is on that meeting between US and China trade representatives. The trade talks have begun in London. Earlier in the morning, the NEC director Hassett said the meeting will be short. The US is seeking a handshake on rare earths agreement from China. Afterwards, the handshake, if occurred, any export controls from the US would be eased and rare earths will be released in volume, and is absolutely expecting progress from this meeting. Additionally, Trump, US president, said earlier that they are very far advanced on a China deal going into this meeting. In terms of sectors, they do open mixed. Outperformance seen in communications and materials. Downside is led by real estate and utilities. In FX, dollar performance is mixed. Dollar index has erased earlier losses, with euro dollar and cable trimming earlier gains. Dollar reversal came amid a pickup in US yields, with the 20 and 30-year high currently higher on the day by around 0.1 basis points, despite the trade data out of China overnight, which unveiled imports and exports beneath expectations. Antipodeans have outperformed in the G10 FX space. For crude prices, they are back in the red, currently down about 15 cents per barrel. On geopolitics, Trump expected to speak to Israeli PM Netanyahu this morning, with some sources have said the discussion will be on Iran and the hostage deal. Note on Iran, Tehran will be a counter-offer to the US nuclear proposal by tomorrow, and we are awaiting further details on this. Update from the US does post a notice of aluminium products subject to tariffs, according to Bloomberg.
Buyers continue to build here. On balance volume slowly picking up. Wanted to see that move a bit higher. Just noticed that on balance volume is quite flat. I would like to see that really reaching the 1 minute, trying to break through those sellers here. I'm not able to, you see. Buyers coming in. That's another rejection of those higher prices. Seeing a bit of a contradictory move here. Let's just refresh this page. Point of control still holding. Cumulative delta trying to pick up, but it's very, very uncertain here. Delta positive on the session. 1 minute. First standard deviation holding. We are in an area to look for buyers. My area's just disappeared when I refreshed the page. So it's not a bad area. Let's see if we can get above.
Next on the US calendar in 10 minutes time, we are looking out for employment trends for May. The prior figure was 107.57. In terms of wholesale sales, monthly change is expected shortly. For April, the prior result was up 0.6%. In terms of inventory revisions, they're expected unrevised at 0.0%.
Okay, we'll attempt into that daily VWAP. Let's see if we can get some sellers trapped here. That would be nice. Got some sellers potentially getting trapped here. Let's see. On balance volume moving higher, cumulative delta moving higher. We're positive on the session. So this is trying to find a little bit of a base here. See on the 1 minute, we've got some sellers coming in against this daily VWAP. So if we can push above this area, that would be a lovely area to flush out those sellers. Let's have a look. Buyers coming in. Let's just see if that pull up, pull back, volume dropping. That looks nice for more upside. Just see volume dropping as it's pulled back. So if we can push up on some high volume now, trap the sellers, that would be nice for more upside. Just trying to hold this bottom area. Got that point of control holding there. Cumulative delta still pushing up. Got 1 minute buyers coming in, trying to trap those sellers now. A pull back on falling volume. Just focus all on those US-China talks and should be positive. So that nearly trapping those sellers. On balance volume pushing up. Let's see. Do we push above those? Oh, not quite. Let's see anything on the 1 minute buyers trap those sellers, but got the date, you got the VWAP there. So above those, VWAP containing price moving up, on balance volume moving up. So volume and price agreeing. That's still fine for buyers. Let's see, it's just slow. VWAPs, the cumulative delta rather starting to just flatten now. Let's have a look. This is the time to go. I want to see the buyers just take out those sellers now, really. Right. Okay, sellers coming in, testing these buyers. Let's see. Right, sellers have come in now and trapped those buyers. Cumulative delta is still positive though. So I think buyers will need to defend this really. It's kind of a last opportunity. They've only pulled back really to where these sellers got trapped.
Just over a minute now till we get these data from the US, employment trends, as well as the wholesale inventory revisions and wholesale sales.
Sellers, trap buyers here. No, this doesn't look very promising really. And look, you've got buyers, tricky. And I think I'm going to be pulling out of this one quite soon.
10 seconds. Wholesale sales up 0.1 versus a prior revised up 0.8. Wholesale inventory revisions up 0.2 versus an initially stated 0.
So 5 minute sellers, trap those 5 minute buyers there.
And employment trends 107.49. That is down slightly from 107.57 prior. Just recapping that data, employment trends May data 107.49 falls from 107.57. Wholesale trades up 0.1 versus a prior revised up 0.8. Wholesale inventory revisions revised to up 0.2 from an initially stated 0.
Buyers have now trapped sellers there. Let's have a look if this is turning around now.
And just a revision to the employment trends prior data, the prior reading was revised up to 108 from 107.57. And just a bit more on this Trump-Netanyahu call. According to Axios, after the Trump-Netanyahu call, PM Netanyahu will convene a security discussion on the issue of Iran, as via Axios.
Tricky this one really.
And just a bit of defence news from Canada. The Prime Minister says Canada will be boosting its defence spending to hit NATO's 2% of GDP target this fiscal year. Just note this does appear to be a confirmation of earlier reporting.
We have had a rejection with those sellers trapping those buyers, but it's not very convincing. So I'm still just holding on to these longs. Testing that point of control again. This will be an important area. Buyers just trapping some sellers there. There's another attempt. Can this build from here higher? Let's have a look. Cumulative delta trying to push up here. We haven't really got any sellers trapped yet is the problem on the 5. On the 1, you've got some sellers trapped, but it's not very convincing. The only sort of convincing sellers trapped are the ones down here. Try holding again. Let's see. The cumulative delta picking up, that's boding well. So a bit of absorption going on. Buyers coming in on this. Can we get above that point of control again? Let's have a look. Cumulative delta pushing up, volume building, buyers coming in, trap those sellers. That's possible. Those buyers have trapped those sellers there. See if that becomes a little lift off point for buyers. See if those sellers get trapped here. Okay, here we go. That looks like a little move. Buyers trapping those sellers. See if we can just keep going with this. There we go, another little move higher. Right, let's see on the 1 minute, do we get anyone trapped up here? That'd be great if we do. Right, there we go, moving up a bit higher. Okay, that's good. See if we get a 1 minute close above. That's what we want to see. Cumulative delta pushing up, delta pushing up. I want to see a close above here though. That's good. That's what we wanted to see. It's nice. Okay, that's good. Let's see what else we get here. See if we get a close above that area. That would be, yeah, we did. So that's what we want to see. Well, that's all for today. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care and look forward to seeing you later. Cheers, folks. Bye for now.